Well, good afternoon and welcome to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Edwards, the managing broker of the Eastside Real Estate team out of Keller Williams Eastside. And this podcast is your go-to source for living, playing, working, and enjoying the Eastside. It is Wednesday, August 16th, and we are live on Facebook, YouTube. So please, if you're watching us live or if you're watching us later, make sure you like or subscribe to our channels. Feel free to share any of our posts if you find they have great content, and comment, ask your questions. We are live. I can see if somebody does ask a question live. So we're gonna have a great show today. We've got Sarah Centeni, and she is with Centeni Coaching, as well as we have, I said Tanny, not Tenny. I'm gonna get it right. And then of course, our good friend Tucker Max will be here to discuss about getting mentally prepared for the real estate world. So we're gonna jump into our real estate topic today. So our real talk segment. So here we go, real talk. Maybe I feel like we should have like a little buffer in there, right? To be like, we're in the real talk segment. Okay, that's a future thought right there. So what we're gonna talk about today is the King County and Eastside July housing stats. So every month we kind of read through what's going on in the real estate market and take the numbers and we break them down. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab a screen share of our website. So if you're looking for some of our topics and this information, we'll be sending it out via email to anybody that's interested, but also, let's see how long this takes, on our website. There we go. So here's our July market report. And I have to tell you that there are some mixed signals in the reporting, and I think it's based on the type of market that we're in. So I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I do want to point out that King County decreased 32% in active inventory, total inventory. So we had this time last year, July, 4,718 homes listed for sale in King County. We're down to 3,100, 33%. On the east side, it went down 40%, so a larger decrease. The interesting part is that when we actually look at the numbers by city, it doesn't tell the same story. The reason for that is King County covers the whole area. So if you'll notice, Bellevue, right, for instance, actually shows that we have more total available inventory. But if you break down the entire east side, all of those outlying pockets. So here's what I interpret this to be, is homes that are well priced and well positioned in these cities are going to sell relatively quickly. The ones that are a little bit on the outskirts, and I'll give an outskirt example of Duval, Carnation, Falls City, North Bend, Maple Valley, these kind of areas where some extra inventory is filling up. Kent, Covington, that's part of King County. So that's probably where you're seeing more. So what's happening is buyers are shifting towards better locations because they can or they choose to. And they're maybe thinking twice about some locations in King County and on the east side. So they're kind of moving around to the hot spots. So inventory in some of those areas is increasing, but the deals are decreasing. So it's a very, very mixed market. So here's how I wrote the analyst, is the cooling housing market, because that is really what we're seeing. Less inventory, less sales. Now sellers can benefit from less competition, while buyers can benefit from maybe a little less bidding wars, right? So it's like a mix of both things. So one thing I really like to look at is the market action index, because this tells us, seasonally speaking, what you can expect. So if I look back to last year, we can see that the market action index kind of dips down until about January and then takes off. So this tells me that you, buyer, that maybe have been sitting on the fence, are going to run up against less competition in the coming months. So if you were postponing, and if you're a seller, the one other thing I would add is we did see slumping prices. So if you look here, year over year, it was a 7% decrease in Bellevue, 4.3% decrease. So if you decide to kind of postpone some things, you may see a little less money if you decide to list November or December. That's like probably not the most recommended time, but I know a lot of people have to do so. And if so, well, it is what it is. So anyways, if you go to Eastside Team Homes. You can get all the details about this. If you have other questions, comments, or concerns about what is happening in the housing market, you can reach out to our team. That is our July market report for July 2020, King County and Eastside. So now we're going to take our quick break because we are talking a lot about investing in real estate, and there are a lot of reasons why you should be prepared to invest now. So come back after the short break and we will talk with Tucker Maxwell.
The pest stops here. Green City Pest Control is your full-service pest solution for all your pest control needs. With an owner with 32 years experience, a board-certified entomologist, and rodent specialist, we do it all. Bats to rats, crawl space, or attic. Call us and we will resolve your problem. 425-413-9700.
All right, let's welcome back to the show Tucker Maxwell from Guild Mortgage. Welcome back, Tucker.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm great. How was your weekend?
It was fantastic. Thank you. Loving the heat.
Did you play a round of golf like me last weekend?
I did not. How'd you shoot?
Actually, I did better. I had a great time out there. It was beautiful. I mean, it's like picture perfect. I don't know if I keep saying that. I'm going to have to go back and watch these podcasts to see if I keep saying this, but it really doesn't get any better than this in the Northwest.
I completely agree. I think we've had great weather since about April, so we've been spoiled.
All right. So let's get into our real estate investing books and podcast recommendations. That's the topic for today. Why did you decide to pick that?
Yeah, so actually this stemmed from a conversation that I had with Mary. So Mary Abraham on your team, she was asking me, she says, hey, it seems that there's a lot of buyers on the fence and, just trying to get them motivated and compelled to buy. What resources do you recommend that, people that are toying around with the idea of investing in real estate should look into? And I was like, dang, that's a fantastic question. And there's some books that I've read that really have led me down this industry path. And so I thought this would be great to share with your followers.
Okay. So let's start off. What's a good book or podcast?
Yeah, so starting with books, I think there's really three main ones that I typically recommend. Two are very, very common. I think a lot of people would expect me to recommend these, starting with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Fantastic book. I think everybody should read it if you're trying to accomplish financial wealth or just, being well off or just not stressing about money. It's a great starting point. So starting there, Robert Kiyosaki does a great job in that. The second book I would recommend is The Millionaire Next Door. And what it does is it just really profiles the characteristics of people that have done well in life. And I think a lot of it is really surprising to people. I read that book back in high school, and one of the surprising things, and I'll ask you this kind of trivia question, Dan, is what do you think the most commonly owned car is by people that have a net worth over $1 million in the US?
Toyota Camry.
It's actually a used Ford F-150.
Okay.
And I thought that was just weird. I didn't expect a truck. I was thinking Honda Civic, maybe Prius, but no, a used F-150 because they hold their value. And right now trucks are hard to come by. And so just some interesting facts about, people that are wealthy aren't typically flashy, showy people. And that's the reason they became wealthy. So.
Yeah, and obviously I've read that book, so I kind of already knew where it was headed. But most people would think, well, maybe a new Lexus or a Bentley or something like that. And the truth is I would have to agree with you. Is it that what's the word? It's for them, the wealth is not something to brag about. It's an outcome of a mindset.
Exactly. Yep.
It's an outcome of a mindset.
Cars are depreciating, and so not a great investment. So, just a lot of good kind of ideas in that.
So that was the Millionaire Next Door, and Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I would also add the Mind of a Millionaire. I think is a similar one, nice and thick. Let's see, I got a couple others here that I'm going to grab.
And I got a new one that I just read. It was recently kind of re-released, and that's called The Automatic Millionaire.
Oh.
And that one was really resonated as well about, how to pay off debt, the importance of owning a home and paying yourself first and not renting, but really setting up automatic processes so that your funds, as your earning income, is just automatically going to these places, whether it be to pay down your principal on your mortgage or to invest in retirement or savings or whatever it is, but have it all set up so it's just automated, so it's hands off, which I love, because if funds hit my checking account, I'll spend it. Like you, I like to play golf. I like to do these things. If I'm playing a bad round, maybe it's the putter, I'll go get a new putter. But if the checking account says the entertainment budget's over, there's no money left there, then I have to wait to get that putter. So this is a good way to put rules and kind of parameters around your spending.
Yeah, and another book, and those are all mindset. This one is kind of the practical and maybe a little shameless plug. It's a Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, they wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's the systems, models, and activities of a successful real estate agent. This is the systems and models of a successful real estate investor. And the thing about it is, when I get digging into this, I get really excited every time I read through it, because the tremendous opportunity that as many people don't understand around the world, the opportunity in real estate in the United States is pretty unique. Yep. There are other places to invest in real estate 100%, but the barrier to entry sometimes is money. It's not always necessary here.
Totally.
In our world. Okay, so books on real estate investing. Okay, what about for a first-time home buyer?
Yes, I think all of those will resonate well with a first-time home buyer. I think that they definitely should be read so you understand kind of, how to manage money and so forth. But I think whether you're a move-up buyer or trying to buy an investment property, those books will resonate no matter what.
Okay, and then this says our first-time home buyer class is recommended. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, so I think this is a myth too, that, a lot of people aren't aware of first-time home buyer classes or don't think they need to take it if they don't need down payment assistance. And what we typically recommend is, if you haven't bought a class or bought a home before, there's a lot of great resources out there for classes that'll walk you through the process of buying a home. They'll allow you to look at the contracts and the forms that you're going to sign throughout the buying side of things, as well as the loan disclosures. And I just think if you are going to go through this process, and a question I always ask my first-time home buyers is like, Dan, when was the last time you spent $450,000? And their answer is always like, never spent that much money. It's like, okay, we should maybe do some things on the front end to make sure you're understanding everything before the contract's laid in front of you and you fell in love with the home and now the pressure's on. We want to make sure you understand what you're signing. And so I absolutely think it's well worth your time. They're almost always at zero cost to you to take the classes. And so just to make it a smooth, easy process, do some due diligence and do the prerequisite of taking a class up front.
I love that. All right. So what other resources should somebody lean on when it comes to real estate investing?
Yeah. So we didn't talk about podcasts. I think there's a lot of great podcasts.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So start with the Eastside Real Estate podcast. Listen to you weekly.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug there. Great resource to know what's going on right here locally. There's also the Housing Wire Daily that I listen to every day. It's about 30 minutes, but it'll tell you why interest rates are doing what they're doing, or why is inventory down, and what are the solutions there. It's just a really quick, really well done podcast. It's national, so it's not going to be specific to our Eastside market, but a great resource to just know what's going on in the housing market. And then Bigger Pockets, obviously, major resource. I think they have 3 or 4, maybe 5 different podcasts now, depending on if you're a real estate investor or you want to do multifamily or whatever it may be. But if you haven't explored Bigger Pockets, it's another good resource for people to learn. And they've actually written books on rental property investing too. So if you're a homeowner that's looking to invest in your first investment property, definitely recommend their book on rental property investing.
Yeah, let's see. The Bigger Pockets has Real Estate Rookie. They've got the Bigger Pockets Daily on the market. So there's a lot associated with that group. And one of the things I think is great about putting that kind of energy out there is opportunity shows up. One thing that most of my investors will know is that there's an active role for them to play in their investing. I'm not plate feeding them investments. We're doing it together, right? Yeah. And so when you hear more people tell stories of what they did to have success, you're going to start to have creative juices flowing. Oh, ooh, I can do that, or I could do this, or I could maybe change that. So it's something to strongly consider in order to get prepared. Yeah, podcasts are easy, and I love the daily ones, right? Because you just get a little bit every day to help keep you on edge. Okay, what other resources?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend including your financial advisor or accountant or tax preparation people in this process as well. So, of course, align yourself with a fantastic real estate professional that can help write contracts and offers for you. You need to have a real estate agent. You need to have a lender that can help with creative funding solutions and to get you the money to invest. But then those other pieces, a financial advisor. If you work with a financial advisor that's helping plan your future, include them in this process as well. And we don't hesitate to include them. We love it. If they say, hey, I work with finance lawyer, it's like, get them on the phone with us. Let's understand big picture, what you're trying to accomplish, and how does this one home purchase fit into that big plan. And so any of those key resources that you've leaned on for other things that pertain to finances, let's include them in this conversation so they know what's going on. They know that we're liquidating to buy this, and here's what the return is expected to be and what we're going to do with those returns and so forth to just better you along that, financial path.
Nice. All right. So last question, if somebody has a goal of buying a home in 2024, when should they start that process?
I would start that process now. And that doesn't necessarily mean, applying for a home loan or, getting you on the phone right away to look at homes, but start researching and listening to these podcasts, reading books, and really prep yourself. This legwork can take some time. And so if you're trying to buy in Q1 of 2024, that process probably should have already started to really educate yourself on what it takes to buy a home, how to ready yourself, and then be prepared to pull the trigger. And
yeah, and I'm going to answer this in two different ways myself. Yeah. One way would be if you're a first-time home buyer. So to prepare for buying your first home next year, you should start paying that mortgage now.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So, get with Tucker, get with anybody that has a mortgage calculator and say, if I buy this home at this price, $850, based on that, what is my monthly payment to that? And you just basically put that into a separate account, move it out of your account every month, pay your rent, but maybe subtract. So pay your rent, but subtract the difference and put it over there. If you can put the whole amount, great. That's just going to help you save faster. But that was one of the tips that I used when I first started, because I was like thinking, how can I afford $2,600 a month? I can't. Right now I'm paying $750 a month, for, one room out of 4 bedrooms in a house. Yep. And what was interesting was how easy it was to do it, because I was always spending the money if it was available to me. So just as a tip, do that. For the investor part of it, I would say pretend like you're buying. Actually, I would say never not look at an opportunity and calculate out whether or not you would buy it or not. I'm told that too, as a real estate agent, that if I go on a listing presentation, the first question I have is, would I buy this house?
Yeah.
Right? Would I buy it? And so as a investor, you should have some base hits under your belt. And they don't have to be real base hits, but you could actually go ahead and go, okay, I calculate that. Here's the rehab cost. It's going to rent for this. And here we go. How does it look? Does it match what I'm looking for? And if you did that every week, well, when you were financially ready, you would then recognize a deal that matched your criteria and have no problem buying it at that point.
So I love that. On the Bigger Pockets podcast, they always do that with every guest they have on there. They go through a deep dive on a deal, and they always want to know a deal that went very well and a loser. Like, we want to hear what happened, what went wrong on a deal that you penciled out. And so they always do like a good example and a bad example, and that's what they
learn by somebody else's mistakes, right?
Yep, exactly. So you don't make the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Well, listen, Tucker, it's a great conversation. I think that, in any kind of a market, there are investors, there are first-time home buyers, all of that. If somebody is thinking about it, we know obviously the number was scrolling. I think we lost it. Did the number go away? To get in touch with Tucker, it's 425-757-9202. Any last thoughts, Tucker?
I think that's it. It's a great time to buy a home, so let's do it.
Great time to buy a home. All right. So next up, we're going to welcome Sarah Centeni with Sarah Centeni Coaching and Consulting, and she's going to tell us about high performance. We're going to talk about the other side of burnout. So come back after this short commercial break.
Forum Social House in downtown Bellevue is reopened for Phase 2. Enjoy our chef-cultivated menu, 369 happy hour on Fridays from 4 to 7 p.m., and of course, all the gaming your heart desires. From the interactive Topgolf Swing Suite to cutting-edge miniature golf and assorted table games, Forum Social House has something for everyone. Located at 700 Bellevue Way Northeast on the 3rd floor of Lincoln Square North, across from the cinema.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Dan Edwards with the Eastside Real Estate Team, and I am joined by my good friend, Sarah Centani, and she is a CPA and ex-financial executive turned high-performance leadership coach and consultant. She's been focused on success and sacrificed her health and relationship and fun. When reaching burnout, she realized that her lifestyle was not sustainable for another 30 years. She dove into personal development and coaching, where she discovered she was actually the cause of most of her pain, and it was up to her to fix it. Now, on the other side of burnout, Sarah helps ambitious high performers achieve long-term success, confidently live their potential, master their time and energy, and maintain their well-being and their true fulfillment. Please welcome to the show, Sarah Centani. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Dan, for having me. So good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. I am good. I think we mentioned that I'm like busy, crazy, and I'm like, wow, could this be burnout? So let's talk about that, because I think there are a lot of people that like are told in their lives, just suck it up, you'll be fine, right?
Totally.
So what's burnout?
Yep. Yeah, I was told that for sure. That's why I'm now on the other side of it, because I went through it and I was able to successfully get to the other side. So what is burnout? To me, I grew up with a father and a brother who always had muscle cars in the family. So when I heard the term burnout initially, I thought it was just like what they were doing in the cul-de-sac, going down the drag strip. Yeah, like those were burnouts. And then I was starting to think, when I went about a month ago, my dad and my brother went down to the Pacific Raceways. And I was watching my brother. He was racing his Chevelle, and he was like doing a burnout right before the start line. And I'm like, oh, he's just like staying in one place. He's just like getting the tires hot and sticky before he gets up to the start line, before he's about to go, try to go for that 10-second quarter mile time. And I realized that right after he did the burnout, a guy came with a broom and started like brushing away the rubber that was left on the road. I'm like, holy crap, this is similar to what I went through. Like when I was in burnout, I was leaving like little pieces of me behind. Like I was not who I was anymore. I used to be a vibrant, social, hardworking. I used to row competitively. Like I used to do all of these things. And when I looked at myself, I just wasn't fulfilled anymore. I was kind of cranky. I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't feel fulfilled in my life and in my job. I was just a shell of the person I was. I left pieces of me behind. And I just kept going every single day, leaving pieces of me behind more. So what I did was I realized that I was in burnout, and I found out what that was. And burnout, there are 5 stages of it, and we can get into that if you want to learn.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Yeah. So there's the honeymoon stage. So this is essentially like you get into a job where maybe you're growing a little bit more. And you're like, I can do this. I can prove it to myself. I can prove it to others. And you're just accepting the responsibility. You know that there's going to be a learning curve. It is what it is. I mean, whenever we grow, there's a learning curve. So that's the first stage. And then there is stage 2. And this is the onset of stress. And this is where you're like, okay, some days are stressful, some aren't. I can handle this. Maybe you're getting a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fatigue, maybe a headache here and there. Your body's just like, oh, you're putting some pressure on me. But then you start to like neglect your personal needs, and you're just kind of working more than maybe your body is used to and putting a little bit more pressure on it. And if you continue with that, you get chronic stress, especially if you don't find some type of release. So whether that is diet or exercise, making sure that your nutrition's on point, meditating, whatever you can do to try to release stress. But if you are consistently in this chronic stage of burnout, you maybe can't sleep well. You get procrastination, a little resentful, you're cranky, you're bringing your work home with you. And you're affecting your presence with your loved ones. And then there was something that I did, and I don't know if it's similar to what you did, but or maybe what you're experiencing, but I used to have a desk drawer full of goodies where I would constantly be snacking. Do you have a desk drawer full of?
No, I do not. I do not. But out there is a candy jar, and it stays out there.
Yes. Yeah. So I would reach for whatever chips, Girl Scout cookies I had in there. And a recent realization I had was, what is desserts spelled backwards?
Oh, you asked us this before.
Yes, I did.
I can't do it. Stressed?
Stressed.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I love desserts. And I mean, desserts are all well and good, but it's like when I understood the reason why I was reaching for those things, I'm like, oh, I'm just stressed. Yeah. So I realized that, there was some chronic stress going on. And then
Yeah.
I finally realized that I was in stage 4, which is burnout. And that's where you are very pessimistic. You don't really see hope. You don't really have that light at the end of the tunnel anymore. You're doubting yourself and your confidence. And for me, it was chronic headaches. I've suffered with migraines for about 30 plus years. And I would get maybe one a month. It wasn't too bad. But as I started going through these stages, I started getting about a headache every single day. Most of them were migraines. I was just popping migraine pills multiple times a week just to get through the day, get through a board meeting I needed to present on. And it wasn't healthy. And I was having gut issues, and I was neglecting myself, and I was not able to go to social events or even family events where I was missing out on things because I was either at work, doing work, or I was in a dark room trying to sleep off a migraine. So I knew that there was something wrong after I landed in the ER with a migraine. And then I had another one that lasted for about 5 days. My body kept throwing me all these signals, but I wasn't really listening until I finally did. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing to myself here? And then,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
did we get all 5 stages? Yeah.
Nope, there's one
Oh,
more.
one more. Okay. I wasn't counting. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So then stage 5 is the habitual burnout. So this is where you're just chronically sad. You have chronic mental fatigue, chronic physical fatigue, and then it ends up with depression. And I know that I was in that point, and that's where I had to make a change. So,
all right. So I want to get to because you're making me change hearing about it. How do you take an exit out of this burnout, right? How do you?
That's what it is.
All right,
like,
what can you
I
do?
feel like I went through burnout so like other people don't have to. Like, I want to get to the place where it's like I went through all of these stages, and I don't want everyone else to have to do that too. So I'm here to bring awareness to what it is. So let's get out of it. So what did I do? I had to reflect on myself and realize that the lifestyle I was living wasn't doable for another 30 years. So I had to look at my habits and look at the things that drained my energy and look at the things that actually gave me energy. So some of the things that drained my energy was the habits that I was doing. I was doing like exercise and whatnot, but I wasn't actually using it as a release. I was just going through the motions. Like, I actually had to do things that I enjoyed doing. I had to start hanging out with my family and friends more, like getting those positive influences in my life. I had to really evaluate how much time and what my boundaries were at work, having the courage to actually say, no, I can't actually do these things right now. So those were some of the things. Have you experienced any ways that have been beneficial for you to get out of burnout?
I think getting away from the desk to a happy place. I'm a sunrise, sunset kind of person. So anytime I can get a chance to just sip a cup of coffee in the morning after my workout and have a little buffer time before it's like go time,
Yes.
that helps. Definitely what you eat and drink really can exacerbate burnout, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So watching that, those are a couple of things for me.
Yeah, those are all very good points. The biggest thing that I did was I realized that the nutrition aspect of it, right? So I was able to reduce my migraines back down to maybe one a month, like not even, I rarely have headaches anymore. And it was mainly because of the nutrition. I was able to go get a food allergy test, food sensitivity test, and actually figure out what was going on. I was able to release the stress that I had, actually be able to lose weight and gain muscle because I was feeding my body the fuel that it needed. And then I was releasing the stress that was built on for so many years.
Yeah. And I can stick in the workout thing all day because for me, like, I like to get up and work out in the morning. It really has to happen. But, I'll be like, man, I just don't want to get up. And I kick my butt out of bed and I go down there. And the amount of endorphins and positive energy I have those days far exceed anything else. And I didn't even do a good job. Like I was like the slowest guy running around the building or whatever it did. But our body, it's counterintuitive, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So talk to me about what the other side of burnout looks like.
The other side of burnout is a more joyful life. It is a more fulfilling life where you are actually being able to not just live a balanced life, but live a harmonious life, where you're able to maintain your well-being, your positive relationships, and still be successful without going back into that burnout phase. You're more aware of yourself and what your boundaries are. You can still stretch your boundaries, but you're in that place where you're actually able to push yourself at a healthy level without sacrificing what you did before.
Yeah. So I would say, like perspective wise, would you have the same feelings if you if you if you hadn't experienced it to the depths that you had?
I would think that I know myself very well now, and I know that when I'm approaching that, and I can definitely see the signs of it. But there are so many different ways that burnout can manifest. Like some people get panic attacks. Some people are just in denial, like they just feel like everyone's out to get them. There's a lot of different signs and symptoms, and it is actually recognized now by the World Health Organization as an actual disease. So it is common. I would say that because I have had it, I know what it can do. But
Right.
by bringing awareness, I know I have a lot of colleagues who have also gone through burnout, and just being able to hear their stories is like, oh, that's something I didn't experience, but I do know someone who did, and that symptom is something that they were experiencing. So that could be something that they're possibly heading towards burnout. So I
Do
think
you
that
think?
bringing awareness really helps.
Yeah, and I was going to say, do you think it's is it just high performance persons, or maybe is also maybe a job or a position that doesn't feel like you're adding significance? Would those be two different ways to approach burnout?
Yeah, so I consider it like internal and external factors. So there's the internal drive that maybe like you are a people pleaser, like you always want to prove yourself to someone. You have that drive to just keep going and going and going. I'm like, I know I'm there, high achieving, like trying to just get everything, prove to myself, prove to everyone else. But then there's also the physical demands. I mean, you could be in a position where there are lack of resources and you're wearing many hats, and you just, you can't handle that much stuff, as no one else would be able to as well. It's just too much stuff. Or there's a climate where maybe you don't have enough funding to be able to do what you need, or maybe there's management, maybe there's lack of communication. I mean, there's so many different things that could really impact not only your physical body, but like your mental, emotional, spiritual as well. Just making sure that everything's in alignment as much as possible.
Well, so basically, this is where I want to get to is how do you come alongside anybody, any organization, right? You're consulting and coaching,
Mhm.
and not just burnout, but obviously this is all about performance too, because I know that you work with a lot of different people and organizations to
Mhm.
help them have high performance. And one of the one of the downsides of high performance could be this burnout thing. So just kind of give me the synopsis, your organization, what you do, and how you help individuals as well as organizations.
Yeah, great question. Because one of the traps of being a high performer is you're always trying to achieve that high performance, and you feel like it's a peak that you have to go to. But it's really being able to maintain yourself while still stretching and being successful. So, what I do when I come in is I actually teach on the top high performance habits that were actually researched based on a study of the top high performers globally. And they found that there are 6 different habits that actually create these successful people, so they're able to maintain their well-being and positive relationships while still being successful and not burning out. So the 6 habits are seeking clarity. So they're always curious and they're always trying to find clarity in what they're doing. So they have a clear mission and goal. The second one is courage. So being able to be courage and confident and actually stand up for who you are and what you believe in. The next one is energy. So when you have a goal and you are actually striving towards something that you believe in, you have the energy to do it. And that comes back down to like not burning out, like getting the food tests, making sure that you're showing up for yourself, taking care of yourself. There's also productivity, which is always the flashy one. Like, all right, high performers, let's get as efficient as possible. But it really is about structuring your day. And Dan, you had a great point about morning routines. And that's something that strongly suggests is having a morning and an evening routine, because it really sets you up for success. Like not only a personal one, but a work one as well.
Yeah, yeah, and also like the type of routines I'm talking about don't involve productivity, but involve reflection and relaxation, unplugging, not listening to a podcast, just nothing, just being, meditation, if you will, prayer, if you will, whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Sarah, we could talk about a ton of things. I so appreciate you coming on. We can pick another topic in the future and have you back on as well. Would love for that. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn at sarah-santani.com, or you can call me at 707-690-0886.
0886. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it. All right, before we go, I wanted to invite everybody. I think I have a banner here for this right here. Cash flow game night. Okay, I have to. I don't know if I can be heard, but tomorrow night here in the Everett office from 5:30 to 6:30, we're going to have a cash flow game night. So these are actually topics from Robert Kiyosaki's, what is it called? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this game is fun. So you will have a blast if you join me. We're going to be playing one round of the game. And if you like Monopoly, this is way better. So come, we'll have some snacks and relax, have some music on and play this game. We're air conditioned. So if you're tired of the heat and you want to cool down and play a fun game with fun people, you can RSVP. Let's see. I think that go to our website and we should have some information on registering for that. I don't really have a way to send a link via video because it doesn't work that way. But you can reach out to us, give us a call, 425-200-4093. That concludes our show. I appreciate our guests, Tucker Maxwell and Sarah Santani. Thanks, you guys, Santani. Thank you. I'm going to get it right. Thanks for coming on. You guys have a wonderful week. Thanks for coming on the show. And thanks, everybody, for watching.